This was one of those movies in the 1970s where it was raw, legit, emotion, no punches, no boundaries, no bullshit, no excuses. Right to the fucking point. I'm just gonna say bravo. Because this movie had to me an absolute fantastic performance. I remember seeing it a long time ago when I was a young sprout, but going back and watching it again, I've really grown to appreciate Al Pacino a lot as a fucking actor. Because this guy gave a performance that you won't even ever believe. Let's just say it's something that's legit real. It's something that you hardly ever get anymore. You get real, genuine emotions, actual care, something you believe in. An average guy who's got a huge paying job where he's working for the fucking government as a lawyer. But he's got human emotions and he has no choice but to deal with the corrupts and triumphs of what the fucking law brings. So he's got a lot of baggage on his hands that he's dealing with every single time he gets a new client. But the 1970s, it is to me the definition that defined the word balls in the world of film. Why? Because a lot of the movies that came out throughout the 1970s, you can't even replicate them or even do a fucking remake of whatsoever. You just can't with a lot of the movies that came out. And this is one of them that you can't remake whatsoever because it is pure perfection on its own. Came out in 1979. Joe Jackson released Look Sharp, his debut album. The Bee Gees' Spirits Haven't Flown tour took off after they released the album in 78. But a year later in 79, here is the Spirits Haven't Flown tour. YMCA ended up becoming a big single for the Village People. You also had Heart of Glass by Blondie that became a big single. You had Unknown Pleasures being a debut record of Joy Division that was going to be a captivating phenomena, revolutionizing and defining a brand new genre in the world of goth, cold wave, new wave, you name it. But getting back on topic and no more talking about the music scene, the story for this movie is incredible. Arthur Kirkland, played by Al Pacino, is under a lot of stress, anxiety, exhaustion, and a shitload of pressure dealing with a judge who's self-centered and accused of committing the act of forceful love onto a poor individual. Kirkland tries to put his personal feelings aside until he ends up finding the truth that his particular client is not necessarily innocent as it may seem. But besides the current objective, there's a bunch of other riffraffs going on that Kirkland has to deal with. There's a cross-dresser who is being accused of burglary. There's also just burglaries in general. There's batteries, there's assaults, there's lunatics who are in the asylum. And just the city of Baltimore is getting under his fucking skin. He's dealing with his own family member who is unfortunately was sick, and a wife who's having nothing but confliction arguments with him. Nothing that is physical or mental, but it's just with the whole stress that is taken upon Kirkland, and it's just reflecting into his marital life, unfortunately. But it's just the whole thing you can talk about this movie is just Al Pacino alone. The way he plays as this lawyer, how he's able to grow sympathy, genuine care, because when you look at it, just alone, when you are a lawyer, your job is to go through the files, interview, talk with, explain why you have to represent this said individual for a said crime that they committed, whether they're innocent or not, proven under the court of law in front of a trial and taking the oath and so on to prove your testaments if you're guilty or not, and it's going to all depend exactly when you have to make arguments within the trial to basically make them believe that if your said client is guilty or not of said accusation that they are being brought upon of a crime that they have supposedly committed. But the thing is that it's not very often where not only in film where you see a story like this, but just in general where you see a lawyer who's got genuine emotions for his fucking clients, whether if the client that he knows in his fucking heart is guilty or truly innocent. That really plays out in effect between knowing who's really innocent and who really is guilty. I'm not going to say too much, but let's say there happens to be one particular confliction between a lawyer who was stepping in for Kirkland for a temporary relief during a particular court that was being handled. And here's the thing, though. This is a emotion that you can really sympathize with. Once he finds out the truth of what happened during the entire court case, it starts off as raging, aggressive anger. Then it goes into fucking emotion where you're just crying and you're in tears and you're just all upset. Then it goes into defeat and you just have to surrender yourself emotionally because of the reality that is hitting. Just seeing all those emotions unfold. It's not even if you're working as a lawyer, if you're working as a policeman, if you're working as a firefighter, if you're working as a doctor, veterinarian, guidance counselor, any sort of position out there, grocery store clerk, a waiter, a cook. There's just so many positions to where you can actually have genuine emotions for the work you are doing, whether it's a high-paying job or something that's middle class or low. There's a lot of genuine emotions. Or even if it's not in the workforce, where in your own personal life, if you're dealing with a relationship or family, it's just legit emotions that goes through an individual that it's just natural how the body reacts with whatever situation that is happening. And for myself personally, I found myself into a lot of those states where I end up starting being angry, where I start getting physical, then I start crying and feeling weak, then I just go into utter surrender where I just have no choice but to accept the reality, whether if I'm going to have to, despite how much I dislike it. But the thing is that that's what happened with poor Arthur Kirkland for one particular matter. But the thing is that it's not only Al Pacino's performance in this movie, it's also the conflictions and conversations he has with almost everybody in this film. It's like what you're watching is real, believable shit that can happen and could happen in reality for anybody. And if you're dealing with a relative who is, not doing too good, if you're dealing with a wife where it's a loving marriage, but there's just arguments that are conflicting, you're dealing with people who are just giving you a hard time. It's just, a man can only take so much before they reach their boiling point, and that's what happened with fucking Arthur. It was literally to where so much shit was coming onto him where he reached his boiling point, and he just said, fuck it. He said, fuck it, I'm going to say it as it is, and I'm going to tell the fucking truth, whether if they're going to like it or not. If their feelings are hurt, I don't give a fuck. I am going to say the fucking truth. That is genuine, legit emotion. Speaking fucking facts with no hesitation whatsoever, especially with how much bullshit that he has went through throughout this entire film. He had enough. And he just said, fuck it. I'm going to let it all out. And the speech he gave, beautiful. That to me is fucking class A plus acting. This movie is incredible. It's got a story that is definitely realistic. It's got a performance that's really going to make you feel. It's got conflictions. It's got emotions. It's got that fucking particular plot to where it's a real life situation that could happen and it's brought onto the screen for you to witness. This movie to me is everything of what story and performance should be all about. I can't help but recommend Injustice for All. It is an incredible fucking movie to watch. If you want to see a good ass performance that you know that you can relate, sympathize, and have a fucking heart to, definitely watch this. A fucking court case. If you want to watch a good drama where it involves a court case that could happen, here you go. So, as for my entire rating of Injustice for All, it is a movie that I gave a perfect 5 stars to. It's too fucking good. It's too fantastic of a goddamn movie. I mean, Al Pacino, look at the films he did throughout the 1970s. He did The Godfather 1 and 2. He did Serpico. He did Scarecrow. He did Dog Day Afternoon. And then he did this one. Al Pacino was really hitting it with the 1970s. And he's definitely one of the best actors that came from that decade who delivered some incredible performances. People might say that The Godfather, him playing as Michael Corleone, might be his best performance. But you know what? Personally, for me, besides Scarface, which is in the 80s, but I'm talking about 1970s, for my own personal thought, I think Injustice for All is his best performance from the 1970s specifically. Because you can really fucking feel it. So, folks, that's going to have to do it for my talk on this movie, Injustice for All. I highly recommend it to check out, and if you have seen it, let me know down below your thoughts. It was truly great to watch this film again, and I had a good time with it. So, folks, with that being said, ciao for now.